My buddy Ghoul already did an amazing video breaking down why this was a false equivalency, but there's just one other thing I want to address. The most famous quote that people use about the doubting of human flight is by Lord Kelvin. That quote has been contested several times, and it's hard to trace down the source. You know why it's so hard to find? Because he didn't say it. It's always taken out of context. What he actually said was, "I am afraid I am not in the flight for aerial navigation. I was greatly interested in your work in kites, but I have not the smallest molecule of faith in aerial navigation other than ballooning, or of the expectation of good results from any of the trials we hear of. So you will understand that I will not care to be a member of the Aeronautical Society." He was not saying heavier than air flight was impossible. What he was saying was that he thought balloon flight was more efficient. And that's because people were asking him to put time and resources into the Aeronautical Society, which was the society of scientists working on flight, when he believed that there was a better way to achieve flight. He never said heavier than air flight was impossible, because scientific minds of the time did not believe heavier than air flight was impossible. That is a myth. That is something that we say to comfort ourselves, that when science says something is impossible, some great man will come around and prove science wrong. But that's not what the vector of history shows. All the other denial claims that people cite are either misattributed or come from uneducated sources in newspapers. They weren't top scientists. Aeronautics was a popular field of study. There had already been plenty of things done with gliders. In fact, evidence of man carrying kites had been found in ancient China in the 1200s. Plus, you got Da Vinci's flying machines. There's Sir George Cayley, which was another scientist that inspired the Wright brothers because he wrote papers on how to make heavier than air flight work. There's Otto Lilienthal, who made several successful flights with gliders. And there's much, much more. Aeronautics was a huge branch of science. The Wright brothers were just another step in a very long chain of scientists looking into aeronautical engineering. And having this bullshit great men prove scientists wrong take discredits literally hundreds of years of aeronautical study. Aeronautical study that the Wright brothers studied and used in the construction of their plane. It is flat out disrespectful. You're literally erasing the works of great men and women in history simply because you want to hold on to hope that we could break the rules of science and live in a sci-fi fantasy land one day. You need to fucking stop it. Science builds on itself, and aeronautics was just another example of that. Everything else is urban myths that people repeat to help themselves sleep at night.